Karibu kwenye MSASA, where we talk to successful people about failure. So, Emmanuel, tell me about EvoNem.
So basically, EvoNem is a healthcare company. Fancy, they like to call it health tech. What we're trying to build is to build an integrated healthcare business whereby anything healthcare that you need, you could get from one place, one supplier. That's through EvoNem. Now we've started through having a retail pharmacy, and we're trying to build up from there, going to B2B, going to health centers, labs, and everything else healthcare.
Okay. Is there a specific reason you started in B2C, like retail?
So basically, I think it was an easier. There's like the barrier to entry is lower, so it's easier going through that, and it wasn't that capital intensive as trying to go into B2B. And I think looking back into it now, I think the other reason is we did not have enough knowledge and connection within that particular sector when we were starting. Mm-hmm. We did try to talk to a couple of people, but I think some of the questions we asked, they either didn't understand what we were really trying to fully build. So they're like, let's just go with what is easier to do now.
Yes.
We'll go up from there.
Yes. Sometimes you just need to start with, like a journey starts with the first step. I'm personally very interested in medicine. It has always been something that I've been eyeing as a potential business to venture in. My reasons for it are because lately I've been learning and I've been particularly interested in really, really, really trying to solve problems. The way my mind works is I'm very service-oriented. So when I think of product, now the problem-solving aspect of a product, I'm much more attracted to things that people need, a little bit more than things that people want.
And the luxury bit.
Yes. It doesn't have to be luxury. They're just some things that people want.
Necessity.
It's a nice to have. I've got a feeling that they actually need. Yeah. Dawa. You need dawa. Why did you get into medicine?
I think basically we discussed it with my co-founder, because we've known each other a while. In some of the stories, discussing people not having medication in this place, and you're like, a place like Dar es Salaam, feels like a luxury having access to medication, even though not for everybody. It's some medications are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And then you feel and then after going back into it, you realize there's room to make medication a bit affordable and accessible for those that's not easy to reach.
Okay.
So I think that was one bit that attracted us to it. And I like big problems. I like the things that people say are unsolvable, and trying now to research on the healthcare sector, globally, you find that these problems, people say, this problem has been there for years and it's unsolvable. It's no, I have time. Let me try to resolve this.
You like the challenge.
See if we can get somewhere, 5 years, 10 years down the line, you can say it's not the same as it was 10 years back, and we played a part in it. And I think that's the main reason we went into it. And I'm very passionate about technology. So knowing that or figuring that we could embed technology in what we were trying to do, that was very vital. So everything that I'm trying to build or everything that is in my head, it has to make sense with me technology-wise, because I feel with technology, it makes things a bit more efficient, effective, and long-lasting, to be long-lasting, easily.
It's scalable.
Yeah, you're not easily replaceable.
Yeah.
In that sense. And you could replicate it anywhere.
Yeah.
If the tech makes sense.
It being a relatively new venture, have you had any surprises that you didn't see when you were already starting out?
I think the bit not very surprising, but we expected, but not to this level. I think there's a lot of bureaucracy in terms of the regulatory field.
Yeah, because like medicine is really regulated.
Yeah, it is. And it makes sense why.
Yeah, I mean,
because once you've gone into the sector, ukishaanza kuuza dawa, alafu unaanza kuona vitu vingine ambavyo watu wanafanya in terms of be it medication abuse and all that stuff, then you realize as to why it's being regulated.
Some of the funny thing about medicine, bro, it seems like there is a loophole in the regulation aspect of it. It seems like, well, I don't want to call it a loophole, but it seems like when you look at the chain, retail, very, very regulated. Na ni makusudi kwamba zinaitwa dawa za baridi. Duka la dawa za baridi. Yeah, for the longest time I used to think, kwani mbona mna mafriji huko ndani lakini kumbe dawa za baridi ni top of the counter. Yeah. And then kuna zile dawa za moto ambazo ni prescription drugs. Prescription drugs. Ukiingia lakini kutoka kwenye retail ukienda kwenye wholesale, those guys are not very much regulated.
I think the sababu kubwa, the main reason ni because the assumption behind it is the wholesale guy does not go directly to the end consumer. There's somebody in the middle who's a professional who has that interaction with the end consumer. So you expect like this is your last, what do you say, barrier of security that this person has to ensure that the person using the person using the medication is doing it the right way.
Okay.
So if somebody is doing any rough stuff at the wholesale side, I think that's just reckless on their part.
Okay. So yeah, you're explaining the surprise.
Yeah. So I think the thing is when we started the timelines first. Nilikuja kugundua kwamba sio sawa sana kufungua duka la kawaida. The timelines we had and when we expected to start and the budget we had and when now things started piling up, I think we wanted to launch in October of 2021, but we ended up opening in May 2022.
Okay.
And we had already recruited a pharmacist.
And they were on payroll?
Yeah, we were on payroll.
Yeah.
With one person. And we're not making any money for about 8 months. But the main reason we agreed or wanted to get that person is because we saw the alignment with what we want, with the person and what we wanted to do.
Okay.
And they were very experienced, 10 years experience.
As a pharmacist?
Yes. And a master's degree and all that. And having experience both in hospitals and the private sector in terms of retail. And we felt like that was the person we wanted to work with. And they were a bit flexible, understanding what we were trying to build and wanting to be part of it. So like, this is the person we want to go with.
Okay.
But, it hurts your pocket. It did. But we were like, we agreed to do this. So let's just go with it.
Most people like usually just get the pharmacist's license.
We did.
Yeah.
Based on what we wanted to do, we didn't want to do that.
Okay.
Like we had a couple people who work for medicine manufacturers. They advised us to do that. And they didn't get us to why we wanted to do it a certain way. But, it's either, it's either my way or no way. So it works for me. I'll just do it this way. Yeah.
Before this, you've been in technology already. Through FMCG and distribution. And then you've been in FMCG, end to end. I want you to paint me a picture of Emmanuel, the 3, 4, 5-year-old, up to Emmanuel, maybe the 25-year-old, and the discovery process. Like, for instance, looking back, is this what you thought you would be doing?
Not first choice, probably second. I already knew that business would be my second choice.
What was the first one?
Chemistry.
Chemistry.
I wanted to be a biochemist.
A biochemist. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
almost did a 360 in college.
Yeah?
I was like starting again, like, nah, I'll stick with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paint me a picture. How did you grow up?
Single mom family. But I grew up around, I would say, an extended family. That's my mother, my aunts, my cousins, brother and sister. So it's a big family stuff. We grew up very close. Seeing women, my family really fight to provide for all of us. You don't really understand the depth of it until you're grown up, and now you see how do they do this thing.
You appreciate it more.
Yeah, you really do appreciate it. Got a good education and was really free. We were all free growing up to make the decisions on what we wanted to do.
Okay.
I think that's one thing. I've been lucky. I chose where I wanted to go study, what I wanted to study. So it's all my choice. And we had that trust, or rather I can say for myself, I had that trust from my mother and my aunts to really be able to take care of myself in terms of, nobody really asked me how much I got, what I got at school in marks, etc. They knew that he's doing fine. And
you didn't get into trouble in school?
Not that much trouble. But I did what I was supposed to do in school. So and I think it's the one thing, if it was a job, I'd do it. If school was a job and it paid to stay in school and study, I think I'd do it.
Oh, you enjoy studying?
Most people wouldn't, but I think I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you enjoy learning?
I do.
Okay.
I'm a daily learner.
Okay.
There has to be a new thing every day for me, for it to make sense.
Even at work?
Everywhere. There's got to be a new thing.
Okay.
A new problem to solve. Somebody tells me something I didn't know. But if it's just routine, it doesn't work.
So are you like one of those people in relationships that keep it spontaneous?
I think on that side, I think I'm boring. A bit boring.
I thought you want new challenges.
This side of learning. But it depends, I think with the right partner, yes.
Yes.
I think when you meet the right person and you find that you're the same person, so it's not weird to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
But I think I am spontaneous in terms of pick up my bag and on a Friday we're going away for the weekend and stuff like that without planning. I do that.
That's very cool. I don't do that. I hear about it. I'm starting to see people who actually do it.
I've done it.
I'm like, oh.
I've done it and I went through a phase. I think I still am fascinated by hotels.
Hotels?
Yes.
5-star
hotels.
Like what? Do you like how they look, the experience, or
it's just the
people
whole
who go there?
The whole engine, from operating it. How does one pick where to put it? How does one pick where they want to sleep in terms of having choices? So I think I've slept in each one of them.
Really?
The big ones, yes.
Out of curiosity.
And I used to do that with my partner. On a Friday, I'm like, yo, we're going somewhere. And she's initially she didn't get it, but then she came to oh, he likes to do this, and then rank the services. I'm a pricing guy, so I like to assess service versus what I'm paying.
So services, are you trying to assess value? Or?
Yeah, the value I'm getting versus what I'm paying, does it make sense? Or is it just hype?
But what do you do when the value is perceived? Because value can be perceived.
I'm looking at me, is it worth it? Is it worth the hype? And then you find somebody else who's been there, and then you assess, am I really expecting too much than the normal person, or is it just the value is mediocre and I'm paying a lot for it? So
again, in an instance where, for instance, you've been a pricing consultant or a pricing lead, and the marketing and the branding has been done right, and there is perceived value.
Yeah.
What happens then? Is it just something you accept? Or
so it has to align with the willingness to pay of the person you're serving it to.
Right.
So if the majority perceive that the value is right and they're willing to pay the price, that's what you go with. And sometimes you segment the market. You cannot always serve everybody.
Yeah.
But if you're able to get the segment that you want and the numbers make sense, and it feels like you're segregating 50% of the people, then you take the win.
Yeah. I'd like to tell you something that might sound a bit strange, but so how I was introduced to you is I was introduced to you by a common friend.
Okay.
And this lady just called me up very randomly. No. She didn't call me up. I think I called her up, and then we had a drink to talk about business and life. I was going through some business challenges. Nilikuwa nahitaji ushauri wa mtu mwingine ambaye amepitia kitu kama hicho. Alafu akaniambia bwana, there's a guy out of nowhere, like we're done, we're leaving, and then like almost like a aha moment, like, hey, by the way, there's a guy you really need to meet. Here, take his number, call him. And then that's how basically I reached out to you, and we finally got to talking. And at the time, you were exiting Soko, which is now a Soko. I'd like you to share with me your experience of working in a place like that for many reasons. One, it's pretty impressive that you were the CEO of Soko in
Tanzania.
In Tanzania, that early. But also as an organization, at least from the outside looking in, without being able to see too much in, it does look like a pretty impressive organization altogether. And their ability to raise funds, etc., how they scale. And before I even met you, I had met a few people who have worked there. And everything just seemed so interesting. Like, it looked like one of those organizations where they had figured out how to do e-commerce offline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me about that experience. What was that like?
I think it was an amazing experience in the sense that everything I've done after, the knowledge gained through that, even though it wasn't a very long time, but like there was too much going on that once you stop doing it and then you get the time to
reflect,
really break down what you did, and now you're able to understand that, this thing working, it was magnificent. I think what you see from the outside looks fancy, but like there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of people that put in work for be it product, or in terms of physical product, or be it software that is being used, or be it the distribution, because people just see the trucks moving out, branded, distributing products in the outlet. But there's a lot that goes into it. So I think it's similar to any FMCG business, but with an ability to do things pretty fast. And that comes from having a really good, having really good data in place.
Okay.
That's one. And embracing the data that you have. Because it's one to have data in place, and the other bit embracing, like really when the data speaks to you, you make your decisions based off of it.
What does that mean? Does that mean sometimes we have data and we don't accept it?
Most people don't even get the time to
review,
really dig deep and understand the problems they're facing.
Right.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I found there, and I also embraced myself, because it's one thing I didn't see in like major companies, is anybody's idea. If it works, it goes. If it works, it goes. If somebody has an idea and they say this, and people say it and they say this could work, it's easier to try than not doing it at all. And I come from a background of finance, and I'm very, I'm not risk averse, but I'm very risk attentive. In fact, I don't just do anything just to try and error.
Yeah.
I have to satisfy.
So it's very calculated risks.
It's got to make sense. And I think I had to find a balance, because when I went in, I think Soko was still very much a startup. So things move pretty fast. And for me, I had to find a balance of where and then you're the one who's leading. So you have to make certain decisions, and you're like, I need to analyze this. I need to analyze this before it goes out. And then you find yourself piled up with a lot of things you need to analyze. And you're like, And I learned how to assess and plan what's more important. Some things aren't that important for you to sit down and analyze. Like somebody else could make that decision. It's not for me to make. And nobody's gonna die if it doesn't work or if it works. So it's a matter of analyzing what the implication of that particular decision would be, and knowing this is a decision I need to make. This is a decision I need to take to the person I'm reporting to, and this is a decision my peers or the person that works under me can make. And I think to a certain point, I think they figured that out. Knowing that somebody in the warehouse could have a solution to a problem and it could easily be resolved without it being a very big problem.
Karibu kwenye MSASA, where we talk to successful people about failure. So they figured that out at organizational level.
I think having started small makes sense, and having that core team in place that you started with, that they know what happens since day one, because there's some people that have been there since day one that you could easily consult and ask, like, how did this used to happen? Inakuaje? Ili tatizo, tulishawahi kukutana na hii tatizo. Tulifanya hivi. Kwa hiyo, labda the scale was small, now it's bigger. So you have somebody you could sit with and analyze, how could we replicate that solution that happened at a smaller level when you had a smaller crisis, put it into this bigger machine and resolve it. So I think that's something that they had done pretty well.
Yeah. As someone who has been a CEO more than once, for yourself and for others, in your own understanding of what you're supposed to do, are you supposed to lead or manage? Or are you supposed to do both? Or are there times for this or that?
It depends with the size of the organization you're leading.
Okay.
I think that's one.
For instance, can you give me an example?
For example, now I lead a very small team, about 6 people. It's different from having 188 people that I had previously. Because with 188 people, you've hired a team that is there to assist you. Maybe 4 or 5 people that are at the country level leadership team. So I do not need to know what happens in every section every day. But when you're leading a team of 5 and the person that is your peer is only one person, and for example, they're pharmacists. That means you know that the pharmacist technical bit is taken care of. But I can't hire a finance person. I can't hire a marketing person because we do not have the resources there. That means I have to you have to get your hands dirty. You have to see through that things are happening, like procurement is being done. You're paying your suppliers on time. You're fulfilling all the orders that come in. It's different from leading a bigger team. So you have to know what kind of leader you have to be. In different situations, or even in bigger companies, there's certain crises that you have to get yourself into. Most you wouldn't, I think. They'll be resolved. It's just having a clear line of communication of you knowing what's happening, but sometimes you don't even really need to go and be the one solving the problems. And I think when I went into my last job, hilo ni tatizo ambalo lilinikuta.
Okay.
Kutaka kujua kila kitu kinachoendelea mwanzoni. Unajikuta watu wanaenda nyumbani, wewe ndio unaanza kufanya kazi yako sasa.
Kwa sababu kila kitu kinakuhusu.
Ulikuwa umekaa unafanya kazi zao na wao. Kwa 5 p.m. people are going home. You're like, now I need to do my job.
Yeah, and then unajikuta uko paka sana.
10 p.m. I used to leave 10 p.m. Going home at 10.
That is a common habit for most people.
10 p.m. nafunguka Tabata. Fika home midnight. 5 I'm up. It wasn't healthy. So I had to figure out. I remember my manager at the time tried to tell me, you have a team in place. Because I went in and I built the team. I was lucky enough to bring in people. So most of the team I brought in. So I think the challenge was, you've built a team.
Delegate.
Yeah, let them do it. like you've already been with somebody 2-3 weeks, they already know the job, and it's not their first job, so they know the principles of what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
let them do it.
Let them figure out the rest.
Yeah. So I think it took up 2-3 months. Nearly figure out you find it very precious muda ambao utagundua kwamba unaupata ukiwaachia kila mtu akafanya kazi yake. Mi nadhani na udhaifu wa kutaka kila kitu kifanyike namna fulani. Still learning how to not do that. Kwamba there might be 3 ways to do something.
And it still solves the thing.
But I like fast, so sometimes I have to balance and wait for somebody to do something their way if there's time. Or if there isn't, then you tell them like, yeah, you could do it this way, but like we've got a day to resolve it, so how about?
Emmanuel, there is a lot of talk about work-life balance. What's your opinion about it?
I think balance is what you define it to be.
Okay.
In terms of what does your life revolve around? If you have a family, kids, and then you have work, it's to figure out what's comfortable for you. And something has to give on certain days, and it doesn't have to be the same formula every day.
Okay.
You could work 15 hours one day and work 6 the next. So it's just you figuring out what works for you. And I think I wouldn't be the right person to really dig deep into it, because most of my life for the last 10 years has revolved around work. That's the only balance I know. Last 10 years, and I think most recently the last 2 years, that's the only thing I know how to do. And I think I enjoy it. That's for me, maybe it's a problem for somebody else, but I enjoy what I'm doing. And naona muda unaenda nikiwa nafanya kitu ambacho ninafanya na nakipenda.
Yeah. The opposite is also true.
Yeah.
Ukipendi yani muda uende. It feels like 2 hours, but it's only been 5 minutes.
My life revolves around the work I do. I think for me right now, that's balance.
Yeah.
Probably kiamua kupata watoto, then
the definition of balance
will change. And some days, like, balance for me is sleeping all day and working at night, or not doing it at all, and picking it up the next day. So nategemea umeamkaje, what you have to do, what is necessary to be done on a certain day. Sometimes you fix I think when you're in like corporate, it's a bit different. Like you're tied to a timetable.
Yeah.
It's 9 to 5. So work is 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Sometimes extends because of things you have to do, deadlines, etc. But like with me right now, my timetable is defined by myself.
Yeah.
So that's different. I start working at 10 and maybe go all the way up to midnight and go to bed. So that's different. But if I go back to corporate, then
it'll change again.
The definition has to change for me to go back to 9 to 5 and figure out the rest of my life, either on weekends or the time past 5. So I think it's something that you have to figure out for yourself, what works for you.
Okay. So I want to kind of lean in a little bit more towards the context of the show. So Emmanuel, we've all faced setbacks. Can you share with us a challenging moment in your life that when you look back, or even if it's something that you're experiencing now, it's something that you have to kind of dig deeper to be able to overcome?
So I think it's when I lost my job in 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, I think life had been a certain way, and being used to a certain routine, and then suddenly stops. Your life is not that. And after like close to 10 years, having to figure out now what am I doing or what do I want to do, that was a bit challenging.
Okay. Tell me more. Give me more context. What do you mean life had been a certain way?
So basically, like, my life, almost all my life revolved around what I did.
Kazi.
Yes. Okay. Ajira. Kwa hiyo, unajua namka asubuhi nenda kazini, ushaanza kupata mshahara. Ndo maisha. So you provide for family, etc.
Unafuata kazi, unaenda kazi.
Yeah. And then
same thing.
And then now, coming from my last job, I knew that it could happen a few months prior, but I don't think I was prepared.
Okay.
And I do not think that you can be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Hicho ndo ambacho najifunza. Kuna vitu unaweza kujiandaa, kuna vitu ni mpaka ukishapitia mara moja. Nadhani mara ya pili
ndio unajiandaa nacho.
Kwa tayari wanasema mwanajeshi una nyota. Unaelewa this is what to expect. Kwa hiyo I think the last day came, I was on vacation, when I knew like I wasn't going to go back to work, because I usually take my vacations, like if I want to do it, is in January when everybody goes on vacation in December. When everybody's back, I go out. So when I went out, I knew I was going to be back in like a month or so. I was, but and then after a while, around April, like that ended. So I think the next day when I woke up is when I asked myself, now what do I do today? There's no job. I don't even think I was worried about money the next day. It's like, this much time. What do I do with this time?
Yeah.
Kwa hiyo, I think the first few weeks, I don't know if I'd call it denial to iteje. My life revolved around TV.
Okay.
For a couple weeks, a lot of TV and a lot of going out. Then you get tired of it.
Yeah.
And like, and now real life kicks in. Like, and for people like me that familiar to Kenya, you have to provide.
Yeah.
And then when you have savings, you're not worried for a while.
Yeah, but you still
but
have it at the back of your mind.
Like, kichwani kwako unawaza maisha
itakuwaje,
yanaendaje baada ya hapa. I was lucky enough to have seen my mother go through that. And I really, really commend her for how she carried herself, because we were still growing up, but we had the knowledge of what was happening.
By going through that, you mean like being
out of a job, etc.
Okay.
I didn't think of it very seriously because I was napata kazi nyingine. And I think for me, after now a while, I was like, I need to look for a job. I went like really, really aggressively for a couple months. And then it didn't happen. Like, I got tired of even interviewing. I was like, jobs are coming, but they're not making sense for where I am in my career at that particular point.
Yes.
Nilikuwa naona kazi nazopata haziendani na mimi. Sometimes monetarily, sometimes the job itself. Kwa hiyo nikaanza kuwaza sasa, what do I do? Nini ambacho nitafanya? So I started, huwa na tabia kuandika notes kwenye simu yangu. Like, a lot, like, it's become a problem now. It's hundreds of them. Nina notes, the business ideas. Yeah. Kwa hiyo, I think I'm up to 30 or something right now. Just scrolling and all that. And I was like, this can work now. I don't know if it will make me money, but it will keep me busy. And I think that was also one of the reasons, like, I needed something to do.
Yeah.
It might not make me money right now, but it will keep me busy until I figure out if either nitarudi kwenye ajira au nitafanyaje. So I started doing this consulting gigs, online na nini, just to keep me busy, make some money here and there, until now we kicked off what I'm currently doing. Lakini sasa ambacho kikubwa nilijifunza during that time, and I think it could be harder for some people, is it gets lonely.
Yeah.
There's like literally nobody who understands what you're going through.
Yeah.
Kama wana marafiki watajaribu console and this and that, but genuinely unajua kabisa yani sidhani kama kuna mtu ananielewa.
Yeah.
For me it was a bit easier kwa sababu I'm a loner. Nimeshazoea kwa mwenyewe. But the thoughts do eat you up sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think it did like for a while. And I started getting this crazy headaches for a period of time.
Yeah.
And you go into the hospital, the checkups, there's nothing wrong with you. Yeah. I met this doctor, like I think he's still my doctor today. Aliniuliza, are there any changes in your life? So I told him, like, this is what has happened, this and that. It's like, you got to take it easy before it becomes something else. A job you can get, but your health is...
you can't
go back.
There's no second chance.
There's no second. Kwa hiyo ile ilinifanya nikagundua kwamba, and I remember my aunt usually chat. Kwa hiyo saa nyingine ananitumiaga messages ambazo I'm like, yo, this is very good. Like, it's a very good message. Like, you say thanks, but when you go back and read it, you're like...
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
It's a very good message.
Yeah.
So there was one time, aliniambia some words. I don't recall most of it, but the last statement was, like, this is the battleground, and the best experiences, the best lessons happen when you're in the battleground, not when you're out of it. When you get into it is when you learn the most important aspects of things that would really make you somebody the next day. I can remember you've been through a period of comfort for years, like that's comfort. And inakufanya ugundue, and I think this is a challenge to everybody, you need to recognize what level of privilege you've had in your life.
Yeah.
Nikagundua, it's been like I've had a privilege for never being unemployed for like 8 years and all that.
Yeah.
And I remember, I have friends that have never had a job. We went to school together. Tangu amemaliza shule. I have a friend who got a job this year.
Afu mmemaliza chuo pamoja.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
It's a very long time.
Yeah.
Sasa alishazoea, alianza kufanya vitu vyake hapa na pale na nini. Businesses, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And we went through COVID, etc. You close up and things. Baadaye akaamua ngoja nijaribu kutafuta ajira akapata. Now, entry level. 8 years down.
Are they happy?
Are they
satisfied with the job?
I think he is, yeah.
Okay. Is it because it's a job?
It's because, when you have a family now, you
want to be less...
And it was a good one.
Okay.
It was a good one. So I think I was happy to have it. Lakini ilinifanya nikagundua, this is how some people have
had it.
Yeah, had it all this time. It's just been a few months. Take it easy. Kwa inakufanya now you start now going back to normal. And I think some friends or people I know started noticing and they started, do you get a job or something? I'm like, no, I haven't, but life moves on. Not starving. I'm blessed enough to be able to provide for my family.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Everything else comes up at a certain time, at the right time.
Yeah.
So I think that particular experience, I've not had failures because I don't look at life that way.
Okay.
I think life is too precious to say that you have failed. You face some mishaps. I mean, a principle, things aren't working today. Nikilala, nikiamka, it's a new day.
Yeah.
Mi hata tukigombana leo, if it's not that serious. Nikilala, nikiamka tomorrow, if you
sleep,
come back, kama kulikuwa na ngumi unataka kupigana mimi, I'm out of it, I'm done with it. Life moves on.
Yeah.
Kwa hiyo that mentality, I think also helped me to like remember kama tuliskanska kakwambia msemo it's not that serious. It's just a job. Or it's just, unless you're on like your deathbed, that's different. Lakini una afya mzima, you've got like every other thing going. You embrace that and you move on with that.
In the period that before the unemployment, in the other period where you were employed, looking back, do you like take good care of yourself? Karibu kwenye MSASA, where we talk to successful people about failure.
Did I take good care of myself?
Yeah.
I think probably not.
Yeah, because for instance, I'm asking that because Abu Konfano personally, I think tangu 18, 19.
You've been on the go.
Yeah. It's kind of, I guess I get it, but I also kind of am like, about it. One, I really, really get the loneliness that you spoke about. Lakini pia, I kind of feel like the assumption that because someone else is busy doing things equals workaholism is unjustified.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
To a large degree, I think it comes from a lot of fucking ignorance. I'm not saying that that's not a thing. I think it is a thing. I think there are people who really, really have, like the way some people have unhealthy habits towards food, alcohol, sex, whatever. Any people who are constantly looking for a distraction. I do also think kuna misunderstandings if you don't understand the context. Asa, when I hear your story, I'm hearing a story that is similar to quite a number of people, by the way. Kwamba, work hard at school, and then if you're lucky, you're actually good at it, and then finish, and then kuna ka gap, and then you get a gig. And then you've never been out of a gig.
That's the formula.
Yes. And then you're out of a gig, but depending on how well you were at the gig, if you were good at it, you go up quickly. So even sasa unajikuta sometime you're at a stage where the next level has to be higher because you've already surpassed this, and that's even a bigger mountain.
That's a problem.
Yeah. Kwa hiyo hapo katikati sasa, when you look back, kuna vipengele fani ambavyo vilisaidia kufika haraka.
Ndio.
Hivyo vipengele saa zingine vina changamoto yake. Yeah. Did you think you took good care of yourself?
I think not very much. Ujana pia ulichangia nadhani. It was a time like very energetic, uchovu amna. And I thought when people used to say when you get to 30, things change. I didn't think it was that serious, but I think
it's serious.
I agree. Like the 20s were different. And I've worked throughout my 20s. Toka I was 21. I finished school when I was 21.
Okay.
So all that time, it's been work. And ile umepata kazi, una excitement, and I want to start building my own life and, grow. I'm very ambitious. Nikiona I'm at a place, very ambitious and very self-aware, I think. Nikiona I'm at a place where I don't feel like I'm growing at the pace that I want. And I got lucky when I made those decisions or those calls, I did get something else.
Yeah.
Kwa hiyo miaka ya mwanzo was like excitement because you're in, you're out, you're back in, you're out to some other place. And then now it was learning. Like for me, I think since my first job, I've always wanted to learn something new every day. Kwa hiyo kujifunza, unajifunza, and then you come to notice, miaka mitano sita baadaye, like, oh, these businesses are the same now. So now it's just a job. Now what you chase for maybe is maybe the money or the titles. That's what you usually like going after. And then you get to a certain level where like, now what else is there? there to chase. So when you get to pause, like from all that, you're like, maybe there were some other things I could have done or enjoyed probably through that phase. Because you see, unaangalia tuingia na mwenzangu labda maybe they're enjoying this phase more than I did. But I don't think I have regrets. There's still, God willing, there's still a lot of time in life to make up for things that you didn't do maybe in your 20s, etc. But I think I did. I think I kind of tried to balance it, like worked a lot and partied a lot at the same time. Yeah. So I think that was mostly my life because I don't think there was anything else for me to do.
Yeah.
But looking back at it now, I think if you take me 5 years back, 6 years back, with the knowledge I have, I'd probably have built a business.
You'd probably have built a business?
I would have built a business.
Earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
Because when I started getting these ideas, etc., like 2016, 17, I didn't have the confidence to start with it. I always felt like you need a certain amount of money
to start.
Yeah. For me, it's not big. I'm not one who really dwells on connections. Like maybe I need to know somebody, etc. I'm like, how much resources do I need?
Yeah.
And then you are enclosed because when you work for these big companies, you go into like a massive construction that people have done over 100 years.
Hundreds of years. Yes. Yeah.
And that's the only thing you know.
Yeah.
You do not know about scarcity of resources.
Yeah.
Maybe businesses are making losses, but it's losses on paper because they're still cash flow positive. They have the money to operate.
Yeah. But you don't feel it directly.
Yeah. But if I think if I had gone through that's what I was saying, I also wanted to work for a smaller business. If I had that experience and knew what hand to mouth felt in a business, I think I would have had the confidence to build something out here.
I think for me that's a blessing and a curse. I think maybe, just maybe, it's a thought, I'll probably be more wiser to speak about the same thing 10 years from now. Like in Hisia, to a large degree, I never got the chance to work at like a big company, like a TBL, like a MNO, like a, I've always been in startup environments. Even when I got a chance to work in a startup that was funded, it was very much a startup.
So, uzuri wake
na. The whole experience,
ni kuchukua tu na replicate. Mfano, if you take somebody who's been through a multinational and they're very good, I'm not saying that I'm very good, but they're very good with organizing.
Yes, processes.
Putting together systems and processes in place.
Yes.
And you put them in a startup where they can thrive and the company embraces growing, not just growing revenue-wise, but growing overall and system-wise and etc.
They would thrive.
They would thrive.
Because and it's big level experience. But
and then if you take somebody who's been through this startup world, because what they know is making decisions, things work or don't work, close a chapter, move along. And then you put them, and they know how to be scrappy about it. Because I think with larger companies, and it's not a bad thing. It's like you're not doing. People have done this before. You're just coming in. There's structure in place. You're gonna do what? Maybe try work around it. Find something. You're not really building from scratch.
You're not really. Yeah.
But if you bring in somebody who has built from scratch into a multinational and tell them this is how things have been going. This is how things have been done for the last 20 years. What do you think we can do differently on maybe block A? This is what changes do you think we can do? And this person has been used to thinking on their feet every single day, every single time. You'd be amazed as to what they can do and what changes you could make. Yeah. So I think every experience...
Because they're used to innovating constantly. Yeah.
It's just one way to do it when you're coming from this background and tofauti upande wa pili sasa.
I get it. Is there a particular challenging moment in your work life that you cherish the most, and you cherish it because of the lesson that was learned from it?
Yeah, I think wakati nimeenda soko watch, nilipewa sisemi challenge, but it was a good challenge. Nilikuta management practically kuna amna mtu, ni mimi sasa. The guy that was there before me had moved into to become a group resource, because he was a tech person. Kwali moved into becoming a group resource. And then I only had one other person. Kwa nilianza nilitaka kurecruit mtu wa warehousing, mtu wa fleet management, HR, procurement. Kulikuwa na watu wengine wawili ambao walikuwa dotted kwangu. Kwa hiyo, I thought it would be easier to bring in people that I wanted to work with. Like settle and like make them come in on a clean slate. Tuanze pamoja. So, because when I came in, there were some issues I had to resolve first. And I remember like my manager at the time, aliwahi kuniuliza, like, have you ever wondered why I wanted you to get the job? I said, no. It's like, you wouldn't have gotten it, but there's one thing that we needed and you had it. I was like, what was it? It was like risk management. So like this particular whole company, like we lack that bit. Risk management. We're our appetites are very high. And
our appetites for risk are high, so we need somebody to be able to manage this risk.
In terms of like this market. So kuna vitu nilikuja nikaanza started to work on. So I came in hands-on. Sio tena kama CEO. Nikaanza like inventory-wise, trying to figure out some things that happened, resolving those issues, etc. Kwa hiyo nikajikuta miezi miwili mitatu ya mwanzo. Very productive. Things like started changing, etc. But when things started to stabilize, I figured I hadn't recruited anybody.
What?
I was supposed to bring in five people to come help me manage the business. I hadn't recruited anybody because I was too focused trying to solve the problems rather than bring in people that had to come in and help me resolve those problems.
Okay.
So the challenge became now bringing in people, because I thought I'd do it in 2 weeks or a week or so. I had never I had sat in interviews before, but I never recruited for my own team.
Yeah,
that was difficult. I think I never really appreciated people who do recruiting.
Yeah,
but I kind of
began to appreciate it. Yeah,
and I was lucky enough to be able to. I knew what I wanted, so I went aggressively on each role, and lucky enough, I got the people I wanted. But it really took a while. So, and I remember my manager was like, I was expecting you to recruit fast before you went in and started solving these problems you started working on. But I didn't want to tell you. I wanted you to do it your way, and let's see how. I was like, you should have just told me. I was like, man, it's a good learning. And I was like, yeah, it's when you have, and when I went out now, I started building on my own. Is when I figured out, like, when you have the chance to recruit a person to do something and you have the resources for it, I'd rather do it early. It's different when you don't have the resources to do it.
Yeah.
But if you have the resources to bring in somebody to help you, like, there are smart people out there. Like, there's smarter people than you are in their particular field, or generally probably smarter than you are, that you could bring in and you could solve the problem in half the time that you did if you do it alone.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of having the resources to do it. And I figured out I had the resources to do it, but I chose to start solving the problems before figuring out to bring in people to assist me to resolve that problem.
Okay. Is that in any way related to having like a support structure?
Yeah, I think probably. Okay. Yes.
Being a loner, other than work life, did you have a different support structure like in life? Like, was your mother a support structure, your partner?
Probably my partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably my partner, because I think we've grown in the career world together. So we understand the language that we speak with each other. I think my mother and my mother probably a support partner, but not very much from a career perspective.
Yeah.
She's been in the career world, etc. But it's a different language now. It's different from when they were doing it.
Yeah.
But I think probably...
What did she do?
My mother's an accountant. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think also my aunt...
The apple didn't fall too far.
That's why it was the plan B. Like, numbers is a thing, huh?
Yeah.
You could crunch numbers, so that would have been easier. But also I think my aunt, because she's lived abroad for years. So she speaks a certain kind of language that she and I understand each other when it comes to probably career and etc. And I think she had a thing with relating to this generation, like speaking. And when we speak to each other, we also understand each other's language. And
I have a slightly out of the box, strange question for you.
Yeah.
What's something you believe in that most people don't? Or don't necessarily agree with you about it?
I think probably that, I don't know, this might feel like I am full of myself, but probably that the fact that I think I've said this to a couple of people sometimes. I believe that if I wanted to stop what I'm doing today and go and try something new that probably people deem a talent, that's either inborn or people have practiced since they were kids, I think I would thrive in it still, because I believe in hard work and commitment, etc. But I think telling people, maybe if I said, for example, and this is not to bring up any topics or discussions, like I wanted to be a doctor today, or an engineer, or an artist, etc. And if I chose to really focus on that, drop everything, if I had the luxury to drop everything that I had and I was told, this is what you have to do, you have maybe 5-10 years to thrive in it, I think I would do it. And I've had discussions with some people sometimes. They're like, nah, you wouldn't be able to do that. You have to have a certain talent to do this and do that. I'm like, no, it's because you've not had the luxury to be given an opportunity to, let's say you wanted to be, a goalkeeper today. And you're like, somebody tells you, the world will pause. This is 5 years for you to go and be the best goalkeeper.
I need to war, but that's the opportunity causes the world pausing. The world won't pause.
Probably not, but I think in a perfect world, I would do it. Na nadhani, mimi binafsi, I don't know, but that's a good call. That's a good observation you've made.
Yeah.
But in a perfect situation, do you think you would make it?
Yes.
You would?
Yes.
I guess some people don't think that way.
Oh, okay. I don't even like football.
That was just an example.
But even then, I still think...
Rugby or whatever.
I like boxing. Yeah.
Do you think you would thrive in it?
Because I like it, definitely, yeah. But I also think I could potentially be a good goalkeeper if that's the only thing I had to do.
Do you think you need to like something to thrive?
No.
Then we're on the same page. Most people think it needs to be a talent, or you need to like something.
Yeah.
Or it needs to be a necessity.
Yeah. So we've got a segment in our show that's called Injia Boxing. It is basically the last segment to our show.
Okay.
It's where we kind of dive deeper, kidogo. Or maybe dive deeper is not the right choice of words. It's kind of where we get specific about answering a very specific question. We've had different themes. The theme we're going with right now is route to market. So, over time, something that personally at least nilisoma kwenye vitabu, afu nikaona shuleni, nikaona kwenye movie, afu sasa hivi naona maishani as an entrepreneur, as a marketing and communications expert, is markets change and market behavior changes. And for instance, right now we live in a world where consumers, even more than ever before, can really determine demand and supply for something. Now, as someone who has been in FMCG is fast-moving consumer goods. There's a reason it's called fast-moving consumer goods, you know? And somebody who has been in unique roles such as pricing, finance, accounting, and leadership, where in leadership, of course, you'd be also involved in operations and biz dev, directly or indirectly. Kwa Tanzania, if unadhani, the next time somebody is looking at their list of business ideas, ambao labda nao wanaandika kwenye simu yao, au kwenye notebooks, au kwenye chats na wenzao, or I chat to myself.
Yeah. I do too.
Yeah? Okay, I guess I'm not that weird. I chat to myself. Karibu kwenye MSASA, where we talk to successful people about failure. When you say this one, and you start thinking about, okay, naipelekaje hiki kitu sokoni? Knowing what you know, what are some of the few things that you would be like, hakikisha kuna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, alafu ndo ili hiyo ndo ikupe confidence ya kwamba okay, let me try this.
Okay, kocha kwanza ni mteja ambaye unataka umuuzie kitu. Una kitu chako, whether umekitengeneza au kipo kwenye box au kipo kichwani, utampe nani? Kwa sababu saa nyingine unaweza kutengeneza kitu hata ukakigawa bure bado usipate mtu akichukua.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a customer unataka kumuuzia. So there needs the customer, that means there needs to be a profile of who you're trying to reach with a product or a service. And once you've done that, you have to determine what's the size of that particular market you're trying to reach, basically. Because that will help you identify how much you can charge for. So if it's, I'm selling, give an example, probably Tanzania sasa hivi, ukileta brand ya maji, huwezi kutuuzia lita 1,200 mtaani. Kuna mtu atanunua. Kuna maji mpaka 500. So there's nothing unique for you to sell it 2,000. Lakini, like a lot of people thrive at 500 because there's a market for it. The market is large. The product is a necessity. Kwa hiyo, if you know the size of the market, then probably figure out what quality of product you want to bring into the market. What's the level of investment are you willing to put behind a product itself? Utaweka maji kwenye chupa ambayo umeitengeneza kwa 1,000 before you put in the liquid, or with the bottle has to be 50 shillings. The plastic has to be 50 shillings.
Speaking of fancy water, using mkunya maji and just you us. Hey, that bottle is nice.
See how much you pay for it.
I'm not comfortable saying.
They're comfortable with your market segment.
Yeah.
Because they know there's a certain...
They know what they're going for. Yeah.
So, and I think with those 3 things, personally, wanaamini, like the marketing bit and all that stuff, that comes last. That's the fancy bit of the business.
Okay.
Before, like, you get into that, you need to figure out, like, what's your entry strategy into the market. Unaingiaje sokoni? Unapeleka product dukani, kakae. That's when, like, you're speaking with the route to market bit. How does your product get to the end consumer? And I think, nadhani sasa hivi, there's a luxury with different channels that a product could get into the market. You could go start through e-commerce, test a bit and see. Ukachagua kama ni supermarket, kama product yako iko worth iko kwenye supermarket, ukaanzia huko. You could ukaenda kwenye maduka makubwa ya wholesale, probably Kariakoo, Manzese, ukaanzia huko. So you have to figure out that out. And then I think the last bit now is where your marketing, etc. Like, what level of investment. And this will help you. I think the last bit will help you how you do number 4 now. Like, how much investment do I have to put behind my product? Will help you identify your entry strategy. It's like, let's say, if you were launching a SIM card today, a new network, you got your permits and everything. You're not going to do what the big ones are doing.
Yeah.
You have to have a face-to-face with the customer for them to start to know you, because the customer already knows a number of players in that sector.
Yeah.
So it needs to be personal for you. So you're going to invest a lot of money, maybe on ads, but ads will be your last thing, because you want to have like straight face-to-face with the customer on the field. Yes.
Yeah.
You have to have now a lot on the BTL bit. Because I think those are some of the things that I would really focus on. And then if you're doing service, probably quality. Like, you need to distinguish yourself a bit. I think zakanga labda migao, kuna migao iko miaka na miaka iondoke, kuna watu wanakuja. People go once, twice, and then they never go back. Yes, walipozoea kila siku. So that goes, I think, with quality. Ya kile ambacho una offer. And how I think the customer really determines if your product will succeed.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Your ideal customer.
Yes.
And then market size for that customer. Mm-hmm. Even if that customer doesn't even know that they actually need your product yet.
Basically. Kwa sababu vitu vingapi ambavyo tunaletewa kila siku.
Yeah. For me, it's Airbnb. Yeah.
Did you know that you needed it?
Well, I know I prefer it than hotels.
I took a ride-hailing service here.
Yeah.
Years ago, I would have had a taxi driver's number on my phone and called him, and would have charged me 3 times what I paid, probably.
Yeah.
Kwa hiyo, sometimes solutions don't need to be massive. Sometimes just tweaking something, and then it works for you. And usually, nadhani mara nyingi, what you end up doing, like the way the product looks 5 years from now, is not where you started. Like, you test it and then you realize, need to make a couple of changes, maybe tweak it 1 or 2 ways. And I think when you have resources, you do that easily.
Yeah.
When you don't, now you learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And because sometimes making changes and alterations requires you to have certain resources. So maybe sometimes you don't. But personally, I have a thing that I usually say. I think the boring stuff is usually where the value is, rather than the shiny stuff. There's a lot of shiny stuff out there, and the shiny stuff gets all the noise. But behind, like, if you look, ukiamua kuangalia labda uchumi wa, chukulia hata Tanzania tu, there's a lot of boring businesses like that are behind the curtains that have a lot of value behind them. And if you could pick one and decide to make it shiny in the way that you want it to be. And I think especially kizazi cha sasa hivi, where technology is becoming, it's not 100%, but we'll adapt whether we want to or not. I think there's an opportunity that people will adapt. So you can pick something and maybe not launch today, but start working on it. Yeah, start figuring it out.
Yeah.
And kitu nimegundua, I'm building something else I will not speak about, but kitu nilichojifunza, sometimes money is the last thing you need.
Yeah.
I used to hate it when people say that. I used to hate it because I know that money is very important. Lakini, when you start doing stuff, you come across something that you realize, this does not need that much money for me to find a proof of concept with this particular idea.
Yeah. So for some people, you need to not have it in order to realize you didn't need it in the beginning.
Mwanzoni unaanza, you do your first idea where money goes in, etc. And then through doing that, and I usually say, when you start to build something, try to figure out, how can this be a platform for me to do something else, whether within it or around it.
Yeah.
But then you figure out, for example, like there's something I started doing it to like find a proof of concept. Do you know how much it cost me?
No.
40,000 shillings.
To get proof of concept.
Yes. 40,000 shillings. I was like, oh. Because if I had not started this first thing, singeanzisha pharmacy na nini, singegundua kwamba kuna opportunity nyingine iko nyuma ya pazia ambayo inaweza kufanya. I was like, 40 yani. And you started seeing revenue. It's not a lot, but I spent 40,000 to probably see 1 million, 2 million, 5 million. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Lakini wakati unaanza sasa huko mwanzo unaanza vibali, sijui kufanyaje. Sometimes like let the problem solve itself.
Yeah.
Start with what the solution that you have in mind. Does it work? Will it work if I try do this? And that gives you inakupa, kwa sababu kishaika hilo kuacha nao ni ngumu once you put in money. Lakini ukijaribu kufanya kabla hela haijaingia au hujaweka hela, ni rahisi sana kuacha. Like, it doesn't work. I'm out.
Yeah.
Trying something else.
You can do a lot more try and error.
Lakini ushaweka mzee, unahesabu mita ya kwanza, ya pili, ya tatu. 5 years, I'm like, nah, we're sticking with it. And it's hard to quit.
Yeah.
I think it's the hardest thing to do.
Because, it's you're emotionally invested.
Yeah.
There's also fear of judgment.
And it's amazing. It's amazing to see companies where, especially like, that have put in a lot of money, quit in 7 months, 8 months. So I remember like, I follow like the startup world across the world. There's a company, used to be called Kibi.
Kibi.
Yes, QIBI. It was a short video, like YouTube, but for short videos. And it was started by a guy, I think his name is Jeff Katzenberg. He was the founder of DreamWorks. One of the founders of DreamWorks was Steven Spielberg. And the CEO was Meg Whitman. He was the ambassador of the US to Kenya now, former CEO of HP.
Oh.
Yeah, they raised a lot of money. A lot of money. You know how much money they lost? $1.35 billion. And they decided to close down in 7 months.
It wasn't working.
After they launched. Yeah. They figured out that it's not working. I was like, you have to be very experienced and have faced a lot of failure.
Able to be like, $1.3 billion.
And they returned money to investors. They still had money, but they chose to give it back.
Yeah.
Wakarudisha hela. Kasema mimi hapa binafsi right now tunaendelea mpaka tujue mwisho. But experience gives you the ability to make the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah.
Nobody died from trying.
Yes.
Like if you tried and you figured out first time doesn't work, when you come across something maybe shiny, you do it for 2 days, you're like, nah, this is not gonna work. It's easy to say no. Lakini kishaanza umewekeza sana muda mrefu and it's the first time you're doing it, it's very hard to let go.
Yeah.
But once you've done it once or twice, I really have very good envy for people who've done something twice or thrice. Ray Dalio calls it believability. Ray Dalio is you know Ray Dalio, right?
I know Ray Dalio.
In his book, Principles. So he says, if you are looking for a mentor or somebody to speak to, make sure that person has done something, what you're about to ask them, 2 or 3 times successfully. Successfully.
Yeah.
Not theoretically. Practically, that's successful. Or failed twice and thrived third time. Because then they'll help you not go down the same path.
Yeah.
But if you're speaking to a person,
yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Lakini sasa nakutana na mimi ambaye wewe ndo tumeanza pamoja mwaka jana. I can basically give you knowledge about what I know and you can tell me what you know, then we can share, etc. But I basically cannot tell you what happens or what will happen 5 years down the line if something different happened, when you should quit or when you shouldn't quit. I wouldn't be able to tell you because we're all on the same journey.
Yeah.
So I think you should be able to measure believability.
Believability.
Yes.
Emmanuel Mbeyela, you are a expert learner.
Addicted one.
You're an addicted learner. You're addicted to learning. That's incredible. I'm extremely envious of you about that, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're a finance guy. You're a pricing guy. You're a risk guy. And you are much more entrepreneurial than you give yourself credit for.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Asante.
Asante sana.
Karibu kwenye MSASA, where we talk to successful people about failure.